Tomorrow is the cutoff to make the third Democratic debate in September. And I am pretty sure that even though tomorrow they are releasing 2 more DNC qualified polls, these are going to be the final 2 polls that they're going to release that could potentially qualify candidates. I'm pretty confident that we're not going to get good news tomorrow. They're not going to be, the candidates that haven't qualified yet aren't going to see any progress, and the DNC is absolutely hell-bent on keeping the field to 10 for the September debate. And the reason I think that is because the news media has been really hyping this idea that it's going to be 10 candidates that are going to be on the stage all on one night. It's going to be so great. You're not going to have 2 nights of debates. You're going to get one night of all 10. And 10 on the debate stage is a zoo. It's a bad idea. I don't know why they think any of us want that. That's not a debate. It's a circus. I mean, they say one line and that's it. We don't actually get anyone's ideas. We don't get to flesh out who's really would be a good fit as president of the United States, kind of a big job. So I don't know why they think 10 candidates on one stage is actually a good idea. I would much rather see the 2 nights again and have them divided up to where it's smaller groups and kind of whittle it to where it's, 5 or 6 candidates on the debate stage each night. And then maybe the next time in October, they whittle it down and it's, 4 candidates on each stage. And then we actually can hear ideas. That's what I think would be a good idea. But the news media is going nuts saying, oh, it's going to be so great for you, 10 candidates one night. So I don't think that tomorrow, even though they're going to release their final 2 qualifying polls, I don't think that the candidates that are the closest to qualifying are going to get any good news. I hope they do, but I don't think they will, because I think the whole qualifying that the DNC has set up, the thresholds are a sham. I don't think they should exist at all in the ways that they're doing it with their, they say you've got to make 130,000 individual donors, plus you've got to get 2% in 4 of their qualifying polls. And they've excluded a lot of really reputable organizations and saying that their polls don't count. So it doesn't make any sense. It's all a big sham. But right now where we're at is Tom Steyer has 3 qualifying polls, and he's gone over the 130,000 donor threshold. Tulsi Gabbard has 2 qualifying polls, and Marianne Williamson has 1. And those 3 candidates have hit the 130,000 donor mark, but they haven't qualified in the polls. Now, a bunch of other candidates didn't hit either threshold, and that would be Kirsten Gillibrand, Michael Bennet, Steve Bullock, Bill de Blasio, John Delaney, Tim Ryan. I know I'm missing a couple of names here. On this list I'm showing you here, you can see this graph, and it's showing who's all made the debates and who has made the donors but has not made the polls. And again, their polls are arbitrary. I mean, it's the polls they've selected. These candidates have actually polled in more than the ones that the DNC is qualifying. But, what do they care? They don't really want all of these candidates on the stage. The thing that bothers me the most about this whole thing is I don't know for sure because it's difficult to find the numbers, but I'm pretty sure that Cory Booker, Amy Klobuchar, Julian Castro, and Tom Steyer, for example, have fewer individual donors than Tulsi Gabbard, who has 165,000 donors. She's got a little more than that. And she hasn't hit their qualifying polls. Now, she's had nearly 30 polls show that she is climbing and getting above the 2% that they're asking for. She's hit 3% in some of the polls and whatnot. So I think that's such a sham. If you've qualified with the donors, that should be enough. They should really go back to the either or. Now, the one piece of good news that I have to give you is that they are holding another debate in October. And as of right now, the qualifying threshold to get on that debate stage is the same as the one to make September. And so the deadline's a little bit later. It'll probably be at the end of September. They have to hit these marks. By then, I've got to think that Tulsi Gabbard, for example, and maybe even hopefully Marianne Williamson will have made the polls because they have already made the donors. So I would like to see more polls coming out in September and that those two women can actually make the debate stage. The whole thing is a sham. The whole thing is not democracy. The DNC should not be the ones deciding who is continuing on with their campaign and who isn't. That should be up to the American people. And if a candidate has more donors than another candidate, more individual donors than another candidate, I don't know how the DNC can justify putting that person on the debate stage, giving them more access to the American public, elevating their profile, and not another candidate who already is shown to have more of a grassroots support. That doesn't make any sense to me. Now, Senator Michael Bennet, who's in the race, he railed against the DNC, and he said that, they've set up a race that favors celebrities and billionaires, and he's not wrong. He says, look, you basically have to have 1 million people on your Twitter account, or you have to be willing to spend $100,000 a day like Tom Steyer has in order to get your name out there. You need to in order for these candidates to even gain name recognition, the DNC needs to put them in front of the people. The DNC needs to offer them the platform by putting them on the debate stage and saying, well, these are your options, America, and here's their platform. But when they exclude candidates who don't have the 1 million Twitter followers and don't have $1 billion to spend on their campaign, then how is that democracy? How are we ever going to get a qualified leader like that if it's just celebrities and billionaires? I thought that's what we were trying to not be, but apparently we are. So again, not all is lost. If the candidates miss it this month, then they still do have a chance to make the October debate. And I do think quite a few more of the candidates will. I think maybe Governor Steve Bullock of Montana, he might. Kirsten Gillibrand, this is really interesting. She actually sent out in her email today, she sent out this letter. She said, friend, Tulsi Gabbard, the subject line was Tulsi Gabbard. This came from Kirsten Gillibrand, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. She says, friend, Tulsi Gabbard's campaign has crossed the 130,000 donor requirement to qualify for the next debate. She's within striking distance of making the debate stage. If she does, she'll get to debate alongside Joe Biden, Cory Booker, Pete Buttigieg, Julian Castro, Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar, Beto O'Rourke, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Andrew Yang next month. I want to be on that debate stage too, sharing our brave vision for this country and refusing to let the conversation idle on reproductive rights and clean elections. But I'll be frank, the last day to qualify is tomorrow and we don't have the donors we need yet. So she goes on to say, please donate to my campaign and help me out. But I thought it was so interesting that she kind of went to bat for Tulsi Gabbard, saying, hey, look, she's crossed that threshold. She's nearly there. And, if she's just right there within striking distance. And this is what I was talking about in my last video. The candidates that are not being, that are not giving the fair shake by the DNC, that are not being put in front of America because the DNC has these ridiculous requirements that they've put out there rather than listening to the American people. And letting candidates just drop out on their own because their campaigns have lost steam. That's the way it should be. They see that, the writing's on the wall. They're not getting their donors. They're not getting momentum, and they will drop out on their own. That's what needs to happen. It doesn't need to be because of the stronghold of the DNC. But what the candidates who are being left out need to do is band together and say, this is wrong. This is not democracy. This isn't working. This isn't what the American people want. You're trying to create another environment where another Donald Trump can rise again, but this time within the Democratic Party. So I think really interesting that Kirsten Gillibrand sent out that letter. I think more candidates need to do the same thing and follow lead. So that is where we're at. We're going to see what happens tomorrow with these two polls that are going to be released, and I will give you an update on that, on where the candidates stand with those two different polls. This would be the last shot. Tulsi Gabbard has to get 2% in both of these polls. Tom Steyer, who is definitely not nearly as popular as Tulsi Gabbard, definitely doesn't have the number of donors, has... I'm not against the guy. I actually like him, but he's a billionaire who spent like $10 million already getting his name out there, and this isn't the way we want to do things. More power to him, but we kind of want to stay away from all this big money in politics, and so. I'll give you an update, but that guy might hit the threshold. If he gets one more poll, he makes it in. If Tulsi gets 2, she makes it in. Marianne needs 3, so tomorrow won't matter for her, except it could potentially for the October debates. And I think it'll be a shame if she's not on that stage because her message will definitely be missed. So I will update you again tomorrow on what happens. Thanks for watching.